2025 was this kind of emerging, like I said, of all these things that I love. And I really just started focusing on that. And that really led me through this whole year to where we are today. A few weeks ago that said, I don't meditate.
I saw that.
There's hope. There's excitement. The warmth is coming. The light is growing. And we are going to experience some really beautiful energy.
I talk to a lot of people on the channel about alternative ways of seeing the world. And of course, after all, that is part of the point of the whole channel. It's a spiritual perspective on life, and actually this is when we step into our power, when we can see everything from a new perspective, and that perspective enables us to change the way we are. Now today's guest is Maureen Calamia. Maureen hosts Enchanted Earth and Luminous Spaces. She's worked with Feng Shui for years and years and years. Hope she doesn't mind me saying that. And more recently, Enchanted Earth has become a centre for her to express a different way of seeing the world and for her to have conversations with her guests. Now today, Maureen is in the hot seat, and it was a great delight to catch up with her after some years and to find out how she sees the world about us. Maureen, thank you. Thank you for coming along today. Brilliant to see you again. It's been a little while since we've connected. Tell us, bring me up to date, because you used to be, when you and I had more contact in sort of classes and stuff, you used to be very heavily involved in Feng Shui. Is that still the case? Where are you now? What's going on in your world?
Yeah, so I was really immersed in the feng shui world for about 20 years, and I love the language that feng shui has provided for me to understand the reality that we live in, the yin and the yang, the flow of qi. I feel it's so poetic, but I've always kind of felt that that was a stepping stone for me, and now I'm more into probably more of the things that are my passions throughout my life, and that's dreams, astrology, uh, the cosmic forces that are around our planet, the geology and the seismic forces, the weather. I'm just so into all of these topics that I feel like I'm coming more into that than I ever have before.
What do you think's moved you towards that? Was there a certain catalyst, or was it just a gentle development?
It was probably a gentle development, but it was, I would say, about January of last year. I was applying to be part of a conference, and they wanted to know, okay, what do you want to talk about? So I wrote a title down, and then I went, okay. And then I just said, okay, so what does that mean? And I started writing things, and I went, I have no idea where this is going. But it was all about the transformation and the shift that we're going through right now, which I think many of your viewers are aware, as many people are, that things are really shifting on this planet. So I had that as kind of a catalyst, but it was just really interesting how I wrote this description and I said, I really have no idea what I'm going to talk about, but in May, I will figure it out. And certainly I did. So 2025 was this kind of emerging, like I said, of all these things that I love. And I really just started focusing on that. And that really led me through this whole year to where we are today.
Amazing. That's classic intuition in practice, isn't it? Really, it's just. And tell us about the Enchanted Earth. That's a title of your book. Tell us about the book, but also you've got a YouTube channel with that title as well.
Yeah, so I was inspired to write this book during COVID, and it was an idea that I had about 2010, I think it was, to gather stories of people that had these moving, profound experiences in nature that were rather mystical. I think a lot of us would say we're mystical because my belief is that we all have these stories, but many of us have dismissed them right off the bat, or we've carried them deep within us, maybe out of fear of sharing it with another person. They might think we're a little crazy. But these stories are really important because, especially right now, and I think when COVID occurred, I realized that this is the time when we need to make a shift in this, our global consciousness. And I feel that these stories are a big part of it because we have to reconnect to the natural world. And when I looked around me, I felt that a lot of people were so completely disconnected. Here in the US, absolutely disconnected from the land. And I'm hearing it's kind of a global phenomena. So, but I think it's even more enhanced. I think a lot of things are more enhanced in my country, especially nowadays. But I really felt the strong need to pull these stories together because I felt that people could identify with these stories, could maybe remember stories that they kind of locked away and re review them, rethink them. What does that story mean in my life today, and why did it come up now? And I think it was really a beautiful journey of interviewing many people, including yourself. And I put together this podcast to bring those stories to life. And I have been doing it for almost 2 years now and have, branched out obviously to people that are outside the book as well.
As you say, the depth of change, and I think the way that actually the intuitive self, the feminine energy that is present in all people, whether they're male or female, but that intuitive feminine essence that is also connecting to the earth, is really at the base of this change. Would you say? Is there anything about that that you would be able to kind of comment on?
Change is change, but what we're going through is transformation, or maybe that word is used often, metamorphosis. I really do feel that a lot of people, I mean, everybody can say, yes, we're going through change, um, but only some people probably get excited when they think about that change. And I'm one of those people that I'm excited. And it's not to say that I am in denial of all of the tragedy that's occurring on this planet and the weather events, the wars, the political craziness that's going on all over the world. And yet, I am really every day, every minute trying to stay in my center, although I get pulled off. But I realize, my soul realizes that this is why I came here to the planet. And I think many of us feel that way, to help usher in this huge metamorphosis. So I find it extremely exciting, although personally, because I'm a human, it can be terrifying. And just trying to find that center moment after moment.
Tell me about some of the your favorite moments that you've had in the podcast, in the Enchanted Earth, in the conversations you've had with people.
Mm. One moment really stands out when you ask that question. And I was interviewing somebody who does Tai Chi and Qigong and yoga. And she's also a musician and she writes music and she's just a beautiful artistic soul. And it was really rather spontaneous. A lot of what I do in my podcast is just to not have things planned out, like just get on and see where the conversation goes. And I think you do that a lot too. I feel like it's more authentic and genuine when it's spontaneous. So she was sharing this amazing story of being connected to the water and the river. And I asked her to kind of close her eyes and be in that moment. And she was recreating it, being in that moment. And she suddenly had a realization that everything that she was doing connected back to something from her childhood. And it opened up a whole new perspective of that experience that she never uh, realized was there. And I get chills right now because that is the magic. of these stories that we share. When we could have these stories inside of us, but when we find the words, which are always difficult, challenging to come up with the words of deeply beautiful stories, of experiences, when we find the words that really get to our heart and share them from our heart, it can just open these portals of knowing and wisdom about who we truly are. And that was really magical. So I was interviewing somebody called the Treehouse Master. He had a show on uh, Animal Planet for about 10 years, and so he builds tree houses. What a lovely occupation, right? So before he got there, he was a carpenter and he was building homes, and he felt a real call to go to the redwoods in Northern California, and this was in the 90s when many of the redwoods were being assaulted by lumber companies. And there was a Julia Butterfly Hill was a young woman who camped out in Luna, which was this beautiful redwood, and some of your listeners may know that story. But anyhow, so it was during that time. He went to the redwoods with somebody who got him onto this private land, um, and they were looking around, and he was just amazed by these gorgeous beings. But he felt very tight and constricted. And he was just wondering, like, why? Why do I feel like this when these trees are so majestic? But then he realized that the trees were afraid of him, afraid of the presence. And he, without any like deep spiritual work, he was a carpenter and just loved doing what he did. But he just in his heart was like, "I just love you guys." Silently, he just said that, "You're just beautiful, you're just beautiful." And then suddenly, he felt this very impish energy and little beings, like, coming out to meet him. He didn't visually see them, but he felt them in the land, and they were joyous and embracing his presence, and he said it was like being at the most fun cocktail party. It was like celebration, so it was just so beautiful and so much fun and so childlike and filled with wonder, that was just an amazing experience to share with him.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. It's that lovely, lovely to have that childlike essence in that. Fantastic. Tell us a little bit about that whole kind of connection that you perhaps feel, because you and I have spoken in the past about biophilic design, right? Which is really about that whole natural world and bringing that inside.
My relationship with nature has really blossomed, and I have to say that I don't have I think this is a power, even though I feel as if I wish I had more of the gift of, say, clairaudience, clairsentience, all the clairs. I'm a very practical person. I came from marketing. I spent, 25 years of my life in marketing. So very analytical, um, and always had this mystical side to myself, but have never really felt like I was psychic or anything. Although I've been told I am, but it's something that I've developed more and more. So I am not the kind of person that goes out and immediately sees spirits, talks, gets a lot of direct connection. I am somebody who, when I sit still, I might get images or a feeling from the land that I'm on, from different trees. One experience, though, I'm very, very glad I had because it was a real physical experience of nature spirit. And just very quickly, I was walking, kind of spontaneously took a walk in this beautiful pine tree forest up in upstate New York in the Adirondack National Park. And I saw this pine tree and I was just drawn to it. And this one's when 2015, I was dowsing a lot. I was not having that real embodied connection with nature yet, but I, kind of put my hands out, hovering, asking for permission, and I seemed to get it. And I stood there for a few minutes, nice and planted, feet on the ground. And I suddenly was whacked by this tree, right here. And I fell backward. I didn't fall. My husband was next to me. He actually kind of grabbed my arm. So he witnessed this. And it was the image of an eye, right here in my forehead at the third eye. And it was this visceral, physical experience of the spirit of this tree saying, "Wake up."
Yeah. Yeah.
And all these years later, we're talking 11, years later, and I'm still processing that experience and still, I think so many of our stories have layers, so many layers to process, but I feel like it was a personal wake-up call to awaken that third eye. I mean, that
Mhm.
was very, very clear. That's the message. But even after that, it's not like I said, it's not like this connection is totally open and easy for me. So, I think my kind of role is to help people who feel like me realize they also have connection.
I think that's you see, that to me is the most at this stage, at this point in time, that's the most important aspect of this relationship to the subtle energies, to all that is to help people that think, "Oh, you're psychic, you're special. That's oh, if only I could be like you." It's about helping those people realize they are like us because we are exactly like them. There are some brilliant, brilliant mediums, and there are people that are absolutely fantastic and tuned into the subtle energies all the time and very, very deeply. But most of the time, most of us, you and I share this because you might perceive me because a lot of people think that I'm kind of really switched on and really sensitive and really connected to nature all the time. Just like you, I have to work at it, and I do have to meditate, and people are surprised when they ask me to say, "Could you just check this out with your dowsing?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can, but it's gonna take me half an hour," because I need time to settle into that space, check it out, check, confirm, blah, 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 you know? It's not just a case of, "Well, hello, there we go," like it is with some people. I think what you shared there was really, really valuable because that is such an important skill to realize that, yeah, we everybody's the same. We've all got this ability because this world that we live in is a part of us at that deeper level, which is what you're talking about. In everything that you do with the Enchanted Earth, that's what you're fundamentally, that's the subtext of what you're doing. It's all a part of us. And in recognizing that, you make great strides forward. We all make great strides forward. So the ordinary person understanding their true gifts or their true presence, which is the same as everybody has, that ability to connect.
Yes, yes, yes. And I do believe that there is that gift that we bring to people to realize that they have it within them too. And I see it all the time. When I'm working with somebody on their land, I have changed the way I work. Of course, we all have, right? Over the period of time I've been dowsing, which is 20 years now, to now having people tap into their own land and see what they get. I ask them to sit, and so often they get something that is valuable. And even at the very least, suggesting to somebody that we do an offering, where do you feel drawn on your land? And at first, people look at me like, what do you mean? And then when they sit with it a minute, spontaneously go, oh, over there, and that's like the beginning for some people, right? Is to go, wow, yeah, I never realized that is an area that I've always loved. And there is this connection that I have there, so it can really, really help them. And I just want to say that this has felt like one of my biggest transitions in the last few years is coming from a place of feeling like an imposter. And I say that completely vulnerable. I mean, I'm just bearing my soul because I do this work, yet part of me feels like, who are you? You're not that, person that from childbirth, from a baby, you've connected with spirits all your life. And it is something that I've had to, like you said, cultivate. And there's still like this wound of feeling like I'm not that kind of, I'm not doing it 100%, 150% like some people, but yet I constantly get messages of, yes, you're doing this. You are doing the work. You're on this path. I get confirmations, of course, when I do it. But it is a process that I think we can all learn. And I think there's people out there that were born with this gift that they've brought through many, many lives of doing this work. And it's so natural to them that I think they might look at other people and say, well, you know, why aren't you able to do what I do? Or, trying to teach people, but it's really hard to teach somebody when it was just naturally inherent within you. So I think I'm not saying, uh, yeah, I certainly don't want to say that, oh, I can teach someone better because I've had to work on it, but opening people to this side of them, I think, is something that is very helpful when you've come from a place of not really feeling that psychic connection.
Mm. Yeah, it's and the thing is that I think it's important that we all as practitioners or teachers, whatever you want to call it, remember that the people that are suited to us, the people that will learn from us, are the ones that come to us because they are presented by the universe. Goes, of course, make contact. Go over there, do that. But absolutely, the imposter syndrome, which a lot of people suffer from, which is what you've just described, is absolutely it's a massive bit of self sabotage if we allow ourselves to be crushed by it.
Yes, there we go.
If we give it the if we give it the
If we give it energy, exactly. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. How do you witness? I mean, in what way do you witness it currently changing? I don't mean the difficulties and the strife and all of that and the aggression and blah, but just how is it coming to you that to witness this?
Well, interesting that you use the word witness because one of the ways I do feel the energy moving is through my dreams. And uh, the word witness has come up in some dreams where I'm witnessing the destruction. I'm witnessing the deepest, darkest energy coming to the surface. And it is, witnessing the turbulence through imagery of being on a ship, of course, in an ocean with many people going, "Oh my gosh, where are we going? Are we going to survive this?" So it's like huge archetypal energy that's coming through my dreams, but I'm also through through the through connection with other people, hearing their kind of transformation or transformative experiences feels like it's getting bigger and louder, tapping into the need that we have to be in that center. When I do my other YouTube channel, Luminous Spaces, I do what I call energy updates, and I was doing them monthly, but then I just started to go, I don't feel like doing it right now. You have to be inspired. And but the reaction that I've received from people when they're listening is this, you know, not to toot my horn because so many of us are putting things out there that people say, those are exactly the words I needed to hear today. I really needed to hear to come back into center. So there's a lot more people that are kind of tuning into that message. And let me just say that walk for peace, those monks that have been walking from, I think, Fort Worth, Texas to Washington, D.C. And as we're speaking, they're going to be, they're in Washington, D.C. right now, and they're going to be ending tomorrow. So that message of peace and in adversity. I mean, look at the way they've been walking through of a crazy snowstorms, ice storms, freezing cold weather that is unusual for the areas that they're walking through in the South and the Mid-Atlantic states. Uh, they bring such a message of hope. So I feel that that is what's growing. It's very subtle. It's not loud, but when we open ourselves to that, we see that growing more and more. So I'm very hopeful for that.
Do you think that that reflects it's almost a spiritual platitude, but it is actually true? There's the saying that, as you change, the world around you changes. And that sounds like exactly what you're saying. So you've been working on yourself hugely over these years, as have I. And therefore, we could say, well, we're seeing the change in the environment. Do you think that's true? That there's an element of self-work that is being reflected?
Yes, and I do think there's uh, kind of like two different worlds. There's based on our worldview, and some people are seeing the excitement. Like I said again, I don't mean to diminish what's going on in this world right now and the suffering, but we can't live in the suffering. That does not help. That just contributes to more uh, darker energy. So those who can see the light and those who are in that suffering or are living in that suffering. So there's two very different worldviews. But I'm a believer in the work of Dr. David Hawkins, who wrote the book Power versus Force. And one of the things that he said in that book, and I know many traditions have said this over millennia, but basically, the more you work on yourself, just like you said, the greater your light, the greater your influence on everybody around you. So just coming back to that center, and that's basically what I try to practice as much as I can during my days is when I start feeling myself getting distracted and going off and feeling like, I try to remember to come back and to be in that present moment and to be in that light.
And how do you do that? Is that a process of meditation, or is that just a mindfulness practice, do you think?
Yeah, it's funny. I did actually put a video out a few weeks ago that said, I don't meditate.
I saw I saw that. I saw the yeah, thumb.
Yeah, so it's funny because, all my life, all my, being in not all my life, but on the spiritual path, I, have done some meditation. I've tried to do meditation. And what I find to be most helpful for me is to be still. And yes, is that meditation? Maybe. But just trying to visualize myself coming back, coming back. I think visualization is such a big part of, um, feeling more grounded and balanced. And yeah, I guess part of meditation, but just imagining myself just coming back to the center and breathing. So breath work, nothing Nothing, like no technique, just deeper breaths to calm my nervous system. And of
No.
course, Tim, as you can imagine, being in nature.
Yeah, of course. Yes, indeed. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Is there anything else that you particularly want to raise or to mention? We've talked about your book a little bit. We've talked about your podcast a little bit. Anything else that you want to talk about at this stage?
I just wanna say that we're in very interesting times, of course, and, Astrologically, we have a huge alignment, February 20th, of Saturn and Neptune at the 0 degrees of Aries. And I am not a professional astrologer, but I've been a student of astrology my whole life. And this is big, 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 very big. It's last happened 6,000 years ago that these planets came together in the sky. From our viewpoint, we call it a conjunction. And 0 degrees of Aries is really the beginning. It is the beginning, right? It is the beginning of the seasonal year. We equate it to spring equinox every year, right? So that energy of the equinox, even though we're not yet there yet, but these planets are coming together there. I think everybody can identify with that. It's fresh, it's new, things are bursting through the soil. There's hope, there's excitement, the warmth is coming, the light is growing. And we are going to experience some really beautiful energy, not right away, but it is birthing. And I'm very excited for that.
Did you say that's on the 20th?
February 20th.
Right, okay. Wonderful, wonderful. Well done, well done, well done, well done. Thank you very much for coming. It's been brilliant to talk to you again, Maureen, and to catch up. It's fantastic. I think what you're doing now is absolutely brilliant. I thought what you were doing before was good. This is brilliant.